Please be seated. Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord. Merry Christmas 2020. This is a year more than any other in which we need to hear this very kind of good news. I know that it is not easy to feel merry right now. So many people are sick. So many have died. For some, their jobs and livelihoods have been shut down. Others are overworked and exhausted as they risk their lives caring for the sick and assuring that we have food and education and the other necessities of life. Even if we've been spared, instead of being with our families or together inside of our church here at St. Philip's, many of us are at home by ourselves, and we have been for months. I think optimism, it's hard to come by right now. We're just not feeling it. So what does it mean to say Merry Christmas in 2020? Is it just an attempt at fake optimism, a kind of cheery insult to the reality of what's really happening? That's not what I believe. I'm not sure that saying Merry Christmas is in fact an expression of optimism, because I think that it's an expression of hope. You see, optimism, well, it's a feeling. It's a reaction to how things are going, or maybe not going, as the case may be. Optimism can come and go with all of the ups and downs of the news cycle and the serendipities of our day, our week, our month, or our year. Now, I don't want to minimize or to denigrate in any way our lack of optimism right now. We would be fools to simply smile and ignore the dire situation in which we find our world and all of the grave suffering that COVID has wrought, and its still escalating devastation. But the good news that those angels were proclaiming is that we have something to place our hope in. With the birth of Jesus, God became human. God is with us, not just in spirit, but born among us as one of us. That means that God is walking with us to bring us through all of this, what has become for us the most difficult time of our lives. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light, and those who lived in a land of darkness, on them light has shined. You can just hear Isaiah practically shouting out those words. You see, unlike optimism, which fades in adversity, the birth of Jesus declares a hope that shines despite the dark. Jesus comes, in fact, ultimately to overturn the darkness. Every time that we say Merry Christmas, we are saying that we hold this hope too. Now, I know there's not a lot of optimism right now, but there is some hope out there. Do you know how I know? Because people are having babies. Now, there isn't a baby boom like the ones that come 9 months after a big blizzard. But you know what? Birth rates are still dropping, but some people are having babies. You know how I know? Because I know people who are pregnant, and I wonder if any of you do too. To choose Oh, we have some people raising their hand. Hooray! Congratulations. That is great news. To choose to have a baby in this time means grappling with a lot of uncertainty. It's kind of risky. I mean, you have to ask those questions like, will we have jobs to support this child? Will it be safe for us and our baby to go to the hospital and give birth? And what will the young life of this child look like? Will they be able to play with other children? Will they be able to go to school? Well, despite all of this uncertainty, people are choosing to have babies because they hold a hope that they can give a child sufficient love and nurture even in these challenging times. They might even think that they have more time to spend with a newborn if, in fact, they're sequestered at home. At root, they believe that they are enough and that they can bring new life forth. You know what? Mary and Joseph had a baby. Now, I know Luke's gospel kind of completely underplays the actual birth part of the story. Yet, despite all those angels and the divine intervention, Jesus was actually born in the most ordinary of ways. Rachel Marie Stone, in her new book, Birthing Hope, Giving Fear to the Light, points out how central the birth part of things is to the entire coming of Jesus. She writes, the scandal of the incarnation is that God became a human not by being beamed down from on high, but by being born in the usual way, clinging as a bundle of cells to the blood-rich inner wall of Mary's womb, floating in the amniotic bubble inside Mary's uterus. That astonishingly strong and expansive muscle makes room within her body, her hospitable body, for God the Son to develop limbs, heart, brain, fingernails, earlobes, and eyelashes. In Jesus's time, gods and goddesses were said to just sort of burst forth from maybe the side of someone's head or from a swan egg. By entertaining that you can come through incarnation with an actual human birth, God is showing something special and particular. God is saying, I am in solidarity with you, with all of your humanness, not just in concept, but in our very flesh. In this way, Merry Christmas is hope in a God that is truly united with us in both our worst and our most vulnerable moments, making our humanness also divine. Birth is inherently both dangerous and sacred. I first learned this in my young 20s when I was living in Africa, when I saw how many women there die in childbirth due to infections, bleeding, and other complications. And even when the privileges of Western medicine were given to me, Matthew and I recognized that it was a miracle every time one of our children made their way safely into the world. And that's even true for our third, who was born at home, beat the midwife by 10 minutes. And let me tell you, talk about fear and trembling. Now, we don't have to do much reading between those lines in Luke's gospel to guess that Jesus's birth was far from easy for Mary and Joseph. They had been forced to travel. An empire needs to count who to tax, after all. And they were stuck sleeping among the animals, exposing Mary to increased risk for infection. None of this was their choice. And you know what? Birth, it happens when it happens. Jesus was Mary's first child. She would have needed the help of a midwife and the support of other women. I'm sure that she was afraid. And I'm guessing that Joseph was too. This is how Jesus was born. This is the kind of entry into sharing our humanness that God chose. It's just like when you slip on your Adidas, God is all in with us. It was a dangerous birth, yes, but what we also miss through translation and a lack of historical and cultural context is some of the sacred ordinariness of Jesus's birth circumstances too. Now, we know about all that extraordinary stuff, the miraculous things like the angels and all of that. But one of the forgotten blessings is that Mary and Joseph could very well have been surrounded by their whole extended family. They weren't alone. I know we've heard all those stories about no room in the inn, but some scholars have said that it just goes back to that word that gets translated for us as inn. It's actually kataluma. That's it in Greek. And recently scholars have begun to point out that it's not the word for what we would think of as like a hotel or a freestanding lodging house. In fact, Bethlehem was probably too small to have an inn anyway. The kataluma was actually a space that was set aside for sheltering travelers, and it was in a private home. It's not even a room, really. It's more like a loft, and it sits above the rest of the house, which is sort of one big room where the whole family lives, and they cook and they play, and they even bring the animals inside at night to keep warm. This main part of the house is divided up between the family area and the area for the animals by a feeding trough, which we call a manger. You see, this paints an entirely different picture, doesn't it? Bethlehem is Joseph's ancestral home. Because of that census, he landed on the doorstep of his relatives, along with pretty much everyone else in his extended family. All of them were probably right there. The women helping Mary through labor, the men sitting with Joseph while he waited and he worried and wanted to see the birth of Jesus. Jesus was born into a home full of hope, that kind of hope that comes from welcoming a new child into the clan. The real vulnerability of incarnation is that people actually need each other. This is what God chose for Jesus's birth. Light and hope enters our darkness through the unexpected blessings of our own human neediness. We think that we're alone, but we're not. Isn't that what we've learned through this whole past year? In that time, everyone had to register. And of course, that means the Cataluma would have been filled. But that family place was overflowing with hospitality, and it was overflowing with love, so much so that they still managed to squeeze Mary and Joseph in, even if it meant that they had to share the space with the animals. It kind of sounds like the premise for a Hallmark movie, doesn't it? You see, last year, right after my father's rapid illness and death due to cancer, my sister-in-law showed up for Thanksgiving week with her Apple TV box and introduced our family to the Hallmark Christmas movies. And it was exactly what I needed at that time. What rock have you been living under that you are ignorant of this phenomenon? You might all ask me. But you know what? If you existed in the land of streaming instead of cable, you might have missed this for the past decade too. And you wouldn't even know the important things like the fact that the countdown for Christmas starts the week before Halloween. Okay, so you know how once you've seen something, you can't unsee it? Well, that's what happened to me last year. Suddenly, fluffy, trope-filled, ridiculous Christmas movies and talk about them was just everywhere. I quickly found out that Netflix makes them too. I noticed that on my news feeds, there were all these valid critiques and controversies about them. I mean, we can't deny that these movies are pretty white and definitely heteronormative in a vapid and sort of thoughtless way. Even Saturday Night Live did this hilarious skit lampooning them. Yet, you know what? Like a box of really average Christmas chocolate, you just can't stop nibbling on these movies. I think it's actually all of those shallow, predictable tropes that just sort of irresistibly drew me in with this kind of glee that makes me wonder, why am I watching this? I mean, listen to this list of the top 10 tropes from Christmas movies. Number 10, Christmas is about more than presents. Number 9, quaint small towns are better than the big city. Number 8, Christmas ceremony will save the town. Number 7, someone is secretly in love with, of course, their best friend. Number 6, corporate big shot wants to close the factory or the lodge or the Christmas tree lot. Number 5, Santa or his elf interfere. Number 4, kids play matchmaker for single parents. Number 3, the all work, no romance boyfriend or girlfriend. Number 2, successful woman must choose between family and career. And of course, the number 1 most popular trope for Christmas movies, also, I want to say my personal favorite, is boyfriend is secretly a prince. There's just some magic and all of this trite silliness that goes beyond mere optimism. It's the magic of transformation. It's about realizing that our lives could hold more, of seeing what really matters with new eyes. You can call it the Christmas spirit if you like, but it's something that we dare not ignore. It's a hope that the birth of Jesus is a game changer for every last one of us. All of these ridiculous movies, they tell us stories of characters who, like Mary and Joseph, have found themselves in circumstances that they didn't want, they didn't expect, and they could have never even imagined. We, I think, can actually relate to that, especially this year. These characters had to make a choice between a life as it's just kind of happening to them and a life that is for more. They're asked to choose between doing what is expected of them and living their life for others, for family, for community, and sometimes even for economic justice, but ultimately for love. This choice is an act of hope. It's hard most years to see this fundamental aspect of Christmas if we look around us at all of those lights and parties and the 24/7 nature that Christmas usually feels like. It might be even harder this year with the world plunged into the manifest darkness of this pandemic. Whether it's angels, shepherds, or improbable plot lines, we may need something magical to remind us Christmas is a choice. It's a choice to give and to act in love. It's not a choice that we make because, things look optimistic. It's a choice that we make because we place our hope in Jesus's incarnation. Jesus is God with us, the one through whom God saves us, the one who ultimately calls us to choose love. With Jesus comes new life, healing, and liberation for all people. That is what our Christmas hope looks like. So, what does Christmas mean in 2020? Well, it means the same thing that it has always meant, and yet it also means so much more. So I sing into you all, Merry Christmas. As we celebrate together the birth of Jesus, I invite you to watch some cheesy television, to take time with your family and giving to others. And while you're at it, open your eyes to the injustices and the suffering that's all around us, and ponder the ways that God might be calling you to re engage your own life in this type of hope and love. Amen.